welcome back, and we're talking with William Whitecloud. William, before the break, you mentioned about your career in commodities.
Initially commodity
Yep,
trading and then financial market trading,
yep,
money market.
yep. Well, that also was the background of the character in your book, The Magician's Way, wasn't it? Could you give us just a brief précis? It's always tricky asking a writer to do a brief précis, I know, on what The Magician's Way is about for those that haven't read it.
That would be very difficult.
You got 60 seconds.
I've never thought about what the Magician's Way is about,
You want to read the
but
back of it?
we could just read that out. But seriously, what the book is about, as a story, you mean? As a story, it's about a youngish man who finds himself in a difficult situation, principally financially, and that financial difficulty is causing strain on his family and his marriage, and the only way he sees to solve the problem is make more money, and the problem with that is that to make more money he then has to spend more time at work, and in fact time traveling abroad, to bring in the money, which will then exacerbate his situation. So he's stuck between a rock and a hard place, and he goes back to the town that he lived and worked in the financial markets, in the money markets, and his friends tell him about a golf professional who can teach him some tools to cope with his life through the medium of golf. And he wouldn't normally have gone, but because he's so desperate and because they're so enthusiastic and positive about what this man can teach him, he does go. And he, through the golf lesson, very simplistically learns the lesson of what I was talking about when you introduced me in the introduction here, about those two different orientations. One where you're focusing on resolving your circumstances and coping with your problems and that, or moving away from that and putting your attention on rediscovering what really matters to you and what your real purpose and passion in life is, and putting your heart into that, putting your energy, into that, and having that be what resolves everything. And that's what the Magician's Way is about him discovering through that lesson that idea, basically, which isn't on its own enough to sustain him. He then has to actually be coached through that process by his friends and mentors, to actually be able to apply that in his life.
So why is it called The Magician's Way?
Well, because that is the Magician's Way. The Magician's Way is it's an orientation in which you're focusing on the end result rather than on the process. And if you study magic outside of its cliched understanding, magic, as Colin Wilson, who's the sort of arch exponent of magic, written, most probably the definitive books on magic. What he said about magic is that it's a way of life where you're driven by your intuition, aided by intellect, but driven by intuition rather than your rational framework, and a way of life where you are, through that intuition led to your vision, where the vision, the end result, is the thing that you follow. It's the most important thing, not the process.
Okay.
So it's actually like a definition of magic,
Yeah.
really, and so that hence the Magician's Way.